So Chapter 13 is about urban patterns and development. And we'll be starting looking at downtown areas or the central business district. We'll also look at the three-dimensional nature of a central business district, or why there are so many tall buildings in the downtown area. So the central business district, what do they use their land for? The CBD takes up less than 1% of the urban land area, but it has a large percentage of the services offered. Central business districts, or CBDs, are compact. They are easily accessible, so the services, because it's compact, it's easy to get to all the different services once you're in the CBD. And that ends up being a focal point for transportation services. So we look at three main types of services in the central business district. The first would be public services. So in the central business district, you'll see a high percentage of things like, well, you'll see the city hall. You'll see usually the county courts. You'll see county and state agencies. You'll see a library. And these things are all centrally located. They're near each other, and that makes it easier to get to them. So if you have to renew your license plate tags or drop something off at court or get a passport, many of these other agencies are all next to each other, so you could order whatever you needed. You often also find things like sports centers and convention centers, and these are often downtown, and that really stimulates commerce. So you might have a sports stadium, or again, big hotels with convention centers because that brings more people in, usually hotels as well. We also have business services. So you're going to find lots of offices, right? So lots of office workers, so advertising agencies, banks, financial institutions, and law firms. And having them clustered in the CBD means that they have a close proximity to other service providers, which promotes collaboration for face-to-face meetings. So if you are working with an advertising agency, you can come in with your, you could stop into one, downtown area and visit the advertising agency you needed to for your business, go to your financial agency, go to a bank, and even check in with your lawyers. The law offices are in close proximity to the courts and other county and state agencies, so they can file motions, they can go to court, they could pick up search warrants, and so they have everything that they need all kind of clustered together. And you've seen downtown areas, even if you, even if you haven't been to like downtown Miami or downtown West Palm, you've probably been to downtown West Palm. You've probably been there. So if you haven't been to like the heart of Manhattan or Chicago or another larger city, you've probably seen some CBDs locally. And then we also have consumer services that are offered in the central business district. So there's historically three types of retail services that are clustered in the CBD. Retailers with a high threshold. So these are retailers that need a large number of consumers to meet the minimum number of people to keep their service opened. So like luxury department stores, like maybe like Macy's, Lord & Taylor, Neiman Marcus, high-end jewelry stores, gourmet food shops. Then you have retailers with a high range. So stores that people are willing to drive a longer distance for. So again, a lot of the higher end stores. And then retailers that serve people who work in the central business district. So places that have photocopying, FedEx and Kinko stores like that also, like the FedEx and Kinkos combined together so you can mail things, dry cleaners, tailors, places to have things repaired, and probably a lot of stores that specialize in workplace attire. You probably have some grocery stores set up there so people can stop on their way home to get things at the store, probably pharmacies so people can stop. Sometimes it's easier to make it to a pharmacy right from work. You might even have doctor's offices located down there because if lots of people are working there, they can make it to a doctor's office, during their lunch break, although a doctor's office isn't a retailer. But recently, changing shopping habits and the shift of more affluent people moving to the suburbs has reduced the importance of retail services in the central business district. So you're going to see less and less of the retail stores there and more of other types of services. So here is a map of a central business district as shown in your textbook. And you can see that you might have like a large park here. This is in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And then you have your business services are in yellow. The reddish areas are public services or semi-public services. So state and county offices, this is probably a courthouse. Here you have a hospital. Education, so you've got your schools, your universities, and then you've got your residential areas that are further away. Vacant areas, green spaces, and lots of parking. So you see in this central business district down here, right? So this is Wilkes-Barre. Right here, this is the heart. So the closer we are here to the business districts, the more we are to the central CBD. And as you get to the outskirts of the CBD, then you start to see more educational facilities and more residential areas. This land here is really at a premium. So why do we build up in a central business district? Because the limited amount of space in the CBD and the price of land, it's expensive, has encouraged vertical development. So in some places we have underground building. That means that we have, they might put telephone, electric, and broadband cables underground and out of sight. They also have underground passages to help people keep them separate from the street, like motor vehicles. So like the subway, right? Subways are located underground. That gave you a public transportation system underneath the city, so you're utilizing more space. Sometimes you even have like tunnels that connect to large buildings underground. And then skyscrapers. Why do we have such high buildings? Because land is expensive. So if you build up instead of out, you use less land. The competition for land in the central business district means that in many urban areas, we have what's called a food desert. A food desert is an area in a highly developed country where healthy food is difficult to obtain. The census tracks where 1/5 of the population lives in poverty, and at least 100 households are half a mile or more from a real grocery store, and they don't have a vehicle. So if you're living in a food desert, you're living somewhere where you can't get easily to a grocery store because you don't have a vehicle, and you live in you are part of the lowest 20% income bracket. That means that most people are buying their groceries from things like convenience stores, and we've all seen the convenience stores, and you probably live by some of them. And the kind of food you can buy at these convenience stores, they have very few fruits, right, or vegetables. If they do, they're canned, or they're like just a few apples and bananas. And so you're buying things like canned ravioli, ramen soup. And I know that like there's delicious food to probably a lot of you because like you're teenagers, and it's junk food, right? But if you don't have access to a grocery store, that means that you're not buying like fresh fruit and vegetables. You're not buying any less processed food. You're not buying like higher quality meat. So even if you can afford it, right, you can't get to it. So when people do that like $1 a day challenge where they try to live on $1 a day and cook food for $1 a day, what they most often miss is the ease in transport. You know, like I could cook delicious food for $1 a day in my family. Well, my family only includes my husband and I. But I mean, I certainly could, but I have access to a car. I can go to many different grocery stores. I can go to many different farmers markets. You know, I get off of work in the afternoon, and while I often stay late, late for a teacher is, you know, probably like 4 or 5. So I can still easily make it to the store on my way home. I don't work on weekends, so I can go to the grocery store then. I can go to a produce market where things are much cheaper. I can go to, you know, I can drive myself to Publix and pick something up there. I can go to 7 different grocery stores to buy the food I want to cook on and live in this challenge, and then be like, oh, and then post on Instagram like how cool it is that I can make all this great food on $1 a day. But what I didn't do is take 2 buses to get to a grocery store, possibly with my children, possibly while trying to get them to do their homework still, and then have to get them back home so I could go to work. So food deserts are a very real problem. And in South Florida, we have 326 food deserts, and 14.7% of the people in Palm Beach County are classified as being food insecure, which means they don't have access to either the funds or they don't have access to a store to buy food. So when we're looking at problems with urban areas in the U.S., One of them is just making sure that people have access to grocery stores. And a way to do that is to make a city probably a bit more walkable and to have what's called mixed-use spaces. So if you have mixed-use development, that means every time you build a residential area, you're also building in things like grocery stores and maybe a post office and a park. So there's never an area that's just residents and convenience stores and gas stations. All the land is mixed use. It encourages people to walk, to use less driving time. And if we use less cars in our urban areas, think about all that parking lot space we saw here. This is very expensive land that could be used for other business services, other residents, more schools, more parks. But right now, it's just used for parking cars. And the more parking you have, the more people drive. Studies have shown if you build extra parking because people have trouble parking in your downtown area, more people drive and fill up those spots. It takes about 6 months for traffic to fill in the gaps. So by changing the patterns of our cities, we can also change the quality of life for the residents in urban areas.